I cannot say much, but he called us and say if he can go and sparring with me and everything. I say, of course, right? A fighter like me, we always.
Canelo Alvarez is the undisputed face of boxing. What if he's not just a product of his amazing skill, but also of careful media build? And what if the people who built the king buried the one man who could have destroyed the whole legacy? Yes, Canelo Alvarez is more than just a fighter. He is known all over the world, is a pay-per-view giant, and is the sport's biggest cash cow. When Floyd Mayweather retired, the old media, the big networks, and the promoters needed a new star to make money off of. He was found in Canelo. He was skilled, desirable, and had a huge group of devoted Mexican fans behind him. He turned into the machine's engine, and you shouldn't mess with an engine. How do you make a star look unbeatable when he's not? You have complete power over the story. After Canelo lost to Mayweather, the old media quickly changed the story to say that he was too young but learned from the best. After the controversial first GGG draw, it was clear that he was the one trying to get the bigger man to do something. This story shield keeps the investment safe. Regular viewers start to think of him as the sport's unquestionable center because of this constant, subtle spinning. After a fight, you should always question what someone says. It's often more important than the end result. When a protected asset loses badly, the media's job changes from promoting the asset to fixing the damage. To Dmitry Bivol, loss caused a lot of changes. He was said to have been outboxed by a master mechanic, that he dared to be great, that he was too small for the weight, and that it was just a blip was what most people in the old media thought. This way of looking at the loss demeans it right away. For the star, there's no way to lose. Bivol, on the other hand, didn't get much positive publicity from the win, though. While the media was praising its king, a monster was rising in the same group. David Benavidez wasn't just another runner-up, he was a high-volume wrecking ball who had never lost. He fought with constant pressure and was younger and bigger than her. Boxing Insider said the same thing in gyms and out in public. Canelo's weak spot was Benavidez's style, which he would never want to face. They had to change how they talked about him because they couldn't ignore him. So why didn't the division's biggest fight happen? For years, networks and promoters pushed an easy story as the official one. It was too risky and not worth it to be Benavidez. The story that went along with his name was that he didn't bring anything to the table and wasn't a big enough name to deserve the Canelo money. It was said so many times that it became true. Benavidez gave them the perfect cover story. He won title after title and became a two-time world champion. He wasn't perfect. He lost his title on the scales and was then suspended, which put a stop to his career. This is what the old media needed. To keep him away, they said he wasn't professional and couldn't be trusted. That being said, Canelo Alvarez himself tested positive for clenbuterol in 2018. How did the media treat this? The story was put down to tainted meat, and then no one remembered it. One man made a mistake that hurt his job. The King's was just a bad meal. Even after Benavidez cleaned up his act and had to do it, what did the old media keep saying? Not yet. He needs one more big win. His list of jobs is still a little short. This goalpost moving is the media's primary defensive maneuver, but experts chose Benavidez over other top opponents because they thought he had a much better resume. When it comes to fighting other threats, he's good. But when it comes to Canelo, he's not ready. This convenient contradiction is the media's most obvious lie. To really hide a threat, you need to show another one that looks real, but is actually much safer. Enter Jermall Charlo. The old media hailed this as a historic matchup between two undisputed teams, but they easily ignored the small print. He went from 154 pounds to 168 pounds, which is to full weight classes. They sold a welterweight as a super middleweight threat. This was a brilliant piece of media misdirection. It put Canelo up against a famous fighter while he avoided the real mandatory challenger in his own division. As Benavidez cleaned up his act and kept destroying every opponent, he finally became Canelo's mandatory challenger. The excuses were gone. But then a new excuse emerged. Canelo himself stated that to fight Benavidez, he would demand an impossible sum, a reported 150 to 200 million. It was an absurd number that no promoter would ever pay. He had officially priced the monster out of the fight forever. If you can't discredit the man, just price him out of existence. The first half is over. If you want to see how far this media strategy goes, please click the subscribe button. We're tracking this story every single day, and I want to hear your take in the comments. Do you think this was a smart business move, or was Canelo just joking? Let me know. Let's go back to it now. And that was the end of the Barry. With Canelo fighting other opponents and no way forward, Benavidez was finally forced to make a choice: wait a long time or go on. He moved up to 175 pounds to chase new crowns. And in that exact moment, the media narrative flipped. The fight stopped all of a sudden when Benavidez left the division. The problem had solved itself. After burying the man, they said it was his fault that he was there. But here's the twist. The old media player is beginning to break down. For the first time, big-name billionaires like Stephen A. Smith on ESPN are going on rants about how silly the Benavidez case is. It's not just about Benavidez, though. The whole basis of media bias is being shown, and it shows a pattern. Take a look at the latest tense interview between Andre Ward and Mark Creel of ESPN. According to Dana's Boxing Nation, Ward skillfully confronted Creel about the unfair treatment of black fighters, especially Terence Crawford, and the use of racist language and stories. Ward never used the word race. When asked about Crawford, Ward said on camera, "They tried to bury that dude." When Creel got defensive and asked, "Who are they?" the answer was obvious: the old media establishment, which Creel himself stands for. Creel tried to defend the story by saying that Crawford was hard to sell. This was a lie, though, because Crawford's fight against Jose Benavidez got a lot of attention on ESPN. He tried to say that Crawford didn't have any good opponents, even after beating fighters like Victor Postal to become the undisputed 140-pound champion. The strategies we're talking about were shown in this conversation. When black fighters do the same thing or even more, the media bury and discredit them, but fighters like Canelo get praise for beating weak opponents. There is a civil war, and as Ward pointed out, the media members who were wrong about Crawford for years are now being held responsible. And they never said sorry for what they did wrong. The tools and methods used to try to bury Benavidez are the same ones here. In old media, they protected their asset. In new media, a YouTube ecosystem built the challenger by ignoring politics between promoters and focused on skill breakdowns. This grassroots uprising created an educated, in-demand fan base, showing new media can build a star without a promoter's permission. Here's the most bitter part of the story. When Canelo signed his 3-fight deal with PBC, the old media narrative was, "This is great. Benavidez is also with PBC, so the fight is finally easy to make." But this was a classic bait and switch. The deal was never about making the hardest fight. It was about controlling the assets. The network got its star and Canelo got new in-house opponents instead of Benavidez. The PBC deal wasn't a bridge to the Benavidez fight. It was a moat built to protect Canelo from it. This entire media suppression was never just about protecting a record. It was about protecting an empire. Look at the Terence Crawford fight. Crawford might have given Canelo one of his losses, but that defeat was a super fight accompanied by a massive payday of over $100 million. And Canelo's core Mexican fan following remained completely intact. But losing to David Benavidez, that was different. The media knew Benavidez was the one fighter who could have been the next Mexican great, and he posed a direct hostile threat to Canelo's throne. A win for Benavidez would have triggered a major, undeniable shift in the Mexican fan base, a true passing of the torch. Let's look at the hard data the media tries to obscure. The eye test says Canelo is the only draw, but the numbers tell a more interesting story. Canelo's fight against the 2-division smaller Jermall Charlo did between 650,000 and 700,000 buys. His fight against Edgar Berlanga was around 650,000. These are good numbers, but they show a solid floor of what his dedicated fan base will buy, regardless of the opponent. The media never mentions that this floor is stagnant. They refuse to acknowledge the obvious. A fight with Benavidez is the only fight that could create a true super. What happens now? Canelo has lost his undisputed crown to Terence Crawford. You are watching the old media panic in real time. For a decade, their entire business model was built on one man. Now there is a massive power vacuum, and they are scrambling to decide who to anoint next. Is it Crawford, the new king who is already 37? Is it Gervonta Davis, or is it David Benavidez, the man they spent 5 years burying, who is now the most obvious champion left? They are realizing they buried the one guy they now need the most. The final lesson in all this is that old media is a machine designed to manufacture consent. It builds stars, protects assets, and buries threats. For years, they told you what to think. But the rise of Benavidez, fueled almost entirely by new media and fan demand, proves that the machine is breaking. The power is no longer just theirs. Your clicks, your comments, and your demand for the truth are what finally force the narrative to crack. The biggest takeaway is to never let a broadcast team tell you what a big fight is. You tell them. So, there you have it. The burial of David Benavidez wasn't a coincidence. It was a corporate strategy to protect the Golden Goose and his claim to the Mexican fan base. But that strategy has finally failed. The fan-driven new media uprising has created a threat so big, so loud, and so undeniable that even the old media has been forced to listen. The king has lost his crown, and the monster they tried to bury is now in line for the throne. So, that's all from today's video. If you enjoy it, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon so you never miss our upcoming videos. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Stay tuned and we will catch you in the next video.